It is Friday, August 21st, and the big news is the Dodgers are maybe actually ruining baseball or maybe committing white-collar crimes on quest to buy rings, maybe, perhaps?
I mean, I don't know if it's on quest to buy rings or more about on quest to buy baseball teams, which
Teams plural?
Sports teams. Walter.
Yes, Lakers.
Yeah,
that he
Lakers.
sold.
Doesn't he own Chelsea?
I saw that he's
Yeah.
selling Chelsea or might have to sell Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but let's separate a historic franchise from their current scummy owner. The Dodgers have had scummy owners my entire life. It is part of the experience of being a Dodger fan. And if you're not a bandwagoner, you would know that.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it okay. My question for you, as someone who's very vocally mad about the cheating that occurred in 2017, if it comes out that there has been a lot of white-collar crime and actual manipulation of the insurance whatever market to create
This is
blank check
such
loans,
a goddamn straw man.
do you then feel like your rings were not really deserved in the way that 2017 Astros ring wasn't deserved?
First
Like,
of all,
is that all the same thing?
Let's strike the Astros ring, then we'll talk, because that's on the field cheating. So, I mean, we haven't
And
even
how
gotten
is
there
this
yet.
manipulation of buying every great player on layaway with money that doesn't exist not worse than just banging some trash cans? At least they were blatant about what they were doing.
Jesus.
Mark Walter tried to buy off the Trump administration by handing him a ring. So, allegedly.
We are-
Everything here is alleged.
Do you really want a defamation suit right now?
No, everything is alleged. Please don't make me call my lawyers.
Allegedly. God, I'm still processing all of this, and I don't know what to make of it other than billionaires are scumbags. I think we all know this, whether it's the billionaires who don't pay their players or the billionaires moving money around in weird ways to buy teams that they want to buy. But can we talk about the fact that the Women's Professional Baseball League isn't being paid right now?
Well, that is also crazy, but that feels like maybe an argument we're having to stop talking about the Dodgers, which I'm not going to let you do. We can talk about that another time. I would like to continue talking about the Dodgers in this moment.
No. We can keep talking about the Dodgers all you want, and I mean, that's the point of this podcast. I just want to make sure that we point out that as this news of whatever financial impropriety may or may not be going on, the Women's Professional Baseball League is not getting paid, and we should do something about that, and that should get more coverage.
I think they are both equally important stories. I think the women's professional baseball teams and their players not being paid is abhorrent. But I also think that the Dodgers story is taking up so much airspace because for the last 6 months to 2 years, baseball media has been saying anyone could do it. Anyone could do it. Why aren't you doing it? And coming from someone whose team was trying to play this game with Peter Seidler, who also, when we're talking about bad billionaire team owners, keep Peter Seidler's name out of your mouth.
Also, the world has gotten significantly worse since great men have died of cancer, and we can talk about that a lot. Regardless, and to my point actually, we are living in a world right now where anyone with money can crime with impunity, and all you have to do is bribe the president. Can we stop making this, allegedly, but can we stop making this a story about sports and propriety and start making a story about the world we live in right now? Because I actually think it is true that right now anyone could do this. I mean, we see the parade of people going through the White House, bribing their way.
Allegedly. I really don't want the smoke from the president. What's
give a shit. I'm already getting it anyway. I'm in that
Fair
world.
enough. That's what I think makes this all the more interesting, allegedly, if the Mark Walter giving the president a World Series ring when they went to visit the White House a month ago
Which still pisses me off, by the way.
But it was crazy in the moment. We were talking about that. It's like, what is going on here? What favor is he trying to curry? And it almost seems like it was to get the DOJ, the SEC off his back for what is now starting to come out and trying to curry favor with the president to commit these white-collar crimes. It's remarkable that it didn't work. I feel like this is maybe the first recorded instance of someone not being able to buy their way out of a jam in this administration.
Here's the thing. We actually don't know yet, and much like the whole Natalie Harps story that's going on right now in the political world, I think this is one of those instances of the attempt to curry favor with the president being what draws the media attention in the first place. Because you're right, nobody was talking about this until he handed Trump a World Series ring. Then all the reporters are like, why is he handing Trump a World Series ring? This is weird. What's going on here? And I wonder if that's what did it. By the way, TBD on whether or not it worked. The pardon will probably be buried somewhere in his Christmas pardons that come out every year, and it'll just be swept under the rug. We know how these things work. The SEC is still investigating. Why would he pardon him now when everyone's in the media? Like, Trump's a media guy. He knows how to do this. It's not going to be that obvious. But
that's a good point. The part of this that is almost more interesting to me in the baseball world, you know, I love people dunking on the Dodgers all day. That's so fun for me. But I keep going back to Shohei's walkaway clause in his contract, because I feel like most people know that if Andrew Friedman got fired, did he have veto power or he could null his contract? But
yeah,
it was
I think
also
he has an
Mark
opt-out.
Walter.
Yeah, he has an opt-out if either Walter or Friedman leave. And he said to the media that
he wouldn't execute on it.
Yeah, after this situation.
No, prior to the situation, like 2 years ago.
No, he was asked specifically about this situation recently and said
Oh,
that
was he?
Yeah, after Walter sold the Lakers. I think.
I didn't see that. That's interesting. I never really understood why you would put that clause into a contract if it were not your intention to act upon it, because that's not standard procedure to put into someone's contract. But if you're Shohei Ohtani and you're owed hundreds and hundreds of $1 million in 20 years, it's not backed by anything. It's just good
It's an
faith,
escrow.
But you don't think if you go into bankruptcy that escrow starts going to cover fees? Like,
I actually don't
just
think
because
it
it's
can.
sitting in,
I think
just because it's sitting in, I don't know about that.
I don't know. I don't know and I'm not going to get into those details because I would be pulling it out of my ass. What I do know about that contract,
there's not $700 million sitting in escrow right now.
I mean,
I'm sure it would be a certain amount of money you're planning to put, much like when you invest to retire.
It's invested in a fund, and the real problem is going to be it's whatever's projected to be $70 million at a certain amount of time.
Okay, if it's
and
$700 million in
crashes,
2042, you probably only have 100 right now. You could recoup that, but it's not backed by Dodger Stadium like a home loan or something like that. It's a loan on the basis of players have always been paid by ownership, and I have no reason not to trust you. But I might be a little concerned and maybe would consider reneging on that loan. It's not like Shohei's worse than when he signed that contract. He could go get another insane contract, become the highest paid athlete in baseball again, for surpassing Soto now, and sign with the Yankees.
From what I
and
understand about that contract, though, and I remember what he was saying in the media when that contract had just been signed, because he was asked about that key man clause. It had nothing to do with concern about his money. I think we've discussed this to death. He clearly isn't overly concerned about his money. All he's concerned about is being on a good baseball team. Yeah. I think that his real concern is if the Dodgers sell to a cheap owner who then just fields him around a bunch of nobodies to keep the money on layaway, he wants out at that point. So it's not about a forced sale alone isn't going to get him out. He's going to wait around to see what happens on the other side, because if the league gets involved to force a sale here, there's no way they're going to let the Dodgers go to shit.
Well, that's another conversation about Manfred giving the Dodgers preferential treatment across the board. It's also, to my mind, very suspicious the timing of this coming out with the Players Association arguments going back and forth. Like, not that I think any of this came out at this time.
You gonna go grab that tinfoil hat behind you?
No, this is not a tinfoil hat theory. I just think it's like, of all the time for this news to come out right in the middle of the collective bargaining occurring is so interesting and strange, and it speaks to maybe MLB's position of, we do need a floor and a cap, and this kind of spending and these kind of contracts that, and I've talked about this, I don't know on here, but certainly to you, I really think the Players Association is doing a disservice to their mandate by saying that we are going to push for the 5 players who can get the Ohtani, the Soto type contracts, versus if we allowed a floor and a cap to be implemented, the larger professional baseball players as a whole would be lifted and making more money.
I think you'd have more guys on league minimum. You'd have more guys on league minimum.
The guys across the board would be making more money. Like,
no, they wouldn't.
Yes, that they did the math on this, that they would be making more money with a floor and a cap collectively across the board. But you're
because
then,
of the floor.
Because
of the floor and the cap versus...
With the floor and the cap, the whole of the league would be making more money, but then you don't have the ability, if you're Juan Soto to sign a $750 million contract.
Except I still think you'd end up with more rookies on league minimum and more guys getting basically their rookie contract salaries renewed, and the ownership telling all their agents, sorry, we got to free up money for the big guys. Do you want a ring or not?
How is that any different than what's going on right now? How is that any worse than you're on the Marlins, you're never going to win, and you're not getting paid? And you're getting paid less than what the floor would be.
Okay, so implement the floor.
You can't have a floor without a cap. You can't do that.
Why?
You mean why, Jordan? You know why.
You can find other ways to negotiate this. And by the way, the floor and the cap aren't the entire ball game here. There's so many other levers you could pull. First of all, more guaranteed performance bonuses. What if there's a tax on teams that don't spend? Like, we have a luxury tax, but we don't have a tax on teams that take that money in and don't spend. What if you put a tax on teams that don't spend, and all of that money gets divided up equally among the winners of the World Series?
To your point about performance bonuses, I know we were talking about this a few weeks ago, and I kind of brought in a big law comparison when you said, what if it was performance bonus based? I think you could do a big law model where you have a standard salary based on years in the league, right? So rookie year, you make X amount across the board. And then in your year 10, every year 10 guy is making the same across the board. But the way you differentiate contracts is performance bonus. So if I'm Shohei Ohtani, instead of just signing a $700 million contract, I sign a contract that's open-ended and it's for every Cy Young. If I hit a strikeout milestone, if I DH a certain amount of times, you could negotiate for every plate appearance over 250, you get X amount of dollars. For
By the way, put aside
World
the
Series
individuals negotiating it. Negotiate it as a collective.
Like a team collective, or like the MLBPA again?
League-wide. Because from there, the negotiations and what teams players choose to be on depend on...
It's totally fair across the board.
Totally fair across the board. And the differentiation of the teams becomes, how good of an organization do you run? Do you get players that want to be there, and they'll get paid more if they're on a winning team, because, of course, the biggest bonus should be win the World Series. You should get a lot of money for that. There should be an incentive to win. And once you do that, then you've got the differentiator becomes what the teams have to offer to the players, and then they can go as far as how famous they are. Do it like the NCAA. Let them go do their own NIL deals, which honestly Shohei's already pioneered.
Do you remember after the World Baseball Classic, or maybe it was in the middle, Toddy came out to speak after Shohei, and Shohei had that like Japanese tea deal, and Soto maybe pushed the tea away, but Toddy went... and then sat it back down and spoke with it in front of him, and then he all of a sudden had a deal in Japan. Like, that's what the players need to be doing.
That was awesome. That was so funny.
It was so good. I loved it. It was so funny to watch in the moment, and then 3 days later when he pops up with another endorsement, so good.
That being said, how do we feel, though, about players being influencers? And it's funny because I've heard it, interestingly, on the collegiate side more. One of the consequences of this is the players who are less known, less talented, but sometimes in a lot of cases working harder, are getting overshadowed by someone who's ridiculously good, can walk in, strut their stuff, but doesn't do the work.
I mean, it speaks to a larger conversation about where we are as a society. There are lawyers on TikTok who are marketing their professional services by virtue of being an influencer.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. There are people who started as like, I'm a big law lawyer and I'm going to do this in my free time, and then the social media of it all eclipsed their actual job, whether it's the lifestyle creators who had a corporate job and either were forced out because of their influencing or chose to leave to do it full time.
In sports specifically, I understand the concept of like, oh, you know, the Caitlin Clark of the world can get their deals, whatever, and the second string on that Iowa team are having to work harder if they want the same thing. I think that's kind of the same thing in sports in general, though. You're going to get paid more if you're a better player versus if you're a bench warmer.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is if you look at someone like Livvy Dunne, who, great collegiate gymnast, but never on the Olympic teams, is maybe a more well-known gymnast, certainly in the baseball world, with her dating Paul Skeens, by virtue of her social media presence, and has been able to parlay outside of the gymnastics world in a way that a lot of other gymnasts have not, because she really understood social media much earlier and spun it to her advantage.
Absolutely, but then you have to ask yourself what that's actually done to the LSU gymnastics program, which you look at their videos. So my experience on this, and Sydney, you know this, but I don't think our viewers do. My sister is a collegiate gymnast at University of North Carolina, and I really do not like the way that I see some of these collegiate athletics programs portraying the women on their teams. And I really think Livvy Dunne, and I say this because I've literally heard her name in backroom discussions as like the personification of this effect, where it's all become sexualized, it's all become commercialized. They're influencers, they're not athletes anymore. And this is a sport, especially gymnastics. I mean, it's a heartbreaking sport, really, because you spend all this time working to get to, I mean, either college or the Olympics, and then you're done by 24. My sister's already had her back fused once in high school, and this is what we're doing. Also, let's talk about back to
Tommy
baseball,
Johns?
too. Yeah, what we're doing to our kids. Did you see that tweet about the 12-year-old who was going to find out if he was going to have Tommy John surgery?
I've said this to you, the pursuit of faster and faster and faster throwing. One, I think we're losing what made pitching great. Yeah. Which was getting guys to chase because you threw a ball. And so now he has this perception of where the ball is coming. I think also, as much as I love ABS challenges are affecting in this way. The zone moving as the pitcher paints the ball was so incredible.
It was before that. It's not ABS as much as I think it's those AI pitching machines they're all using in the batting cages, which I don't know if you know what I'm talking about here.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen regular guys be like, we're going to take a pitch from Mason Miller, and it's like Mason Miller's video projected on a screen, and all of a sudden the ball's coming at you. First of all, I can't hit one of these balls. Every video I've seen just taking a pitch right down the middle, I'm like, that scared the hell out of me, and it went 92. So I'm not one to talk.
I made the mistake of setting a pitching machine to big league speeds one time, and I just stood there. I didn't even have a bat. I just wanted to see it.
Wanted to see it come down.
Scared the crap out of me.
No, it's the same thing as when you start asking guys, could you get a hit off Paul Skeens? No, you couldn't get a hit off Paul Skeens. Could you dunk on Caitlin Clark? I'm like, no.
Could you return a serve from Serena Williams?
Nope. I think, too, the question is, like, if you got 100 pitches from Paul Skeens, could you make contact and foul it off? Maybe. Are you getting a hit on Paul Skeens? No.
Are we talking about Paul Skeens 2 years ago or Paul Skeens now?
Well,
his velo
I
way
think
down?
Paul Skeens might be headed towards Tommy John. Which, back to the point that started this all, the pursuit of faster and faster pitching, guys are shredding their arms. And,
I know.
If we're talking about a closer, a Mason Miller who's going out throwing 15 pitches and taking 2 days off, that's fine. But for these starting guys to be constantly throwing over 100, it's almost irresponsible in my mind what we are allowing organizations and MLB at large to do to these guys. Having 2 or 3 Tommy Johns over the course of your career.
It's not making the game better. I mean, think about this and be honest with me. Think about your entire experience of the game of baseball over your whole life. Who's the greatest pitcher of our lifetimes?
Well, I have a Hoffman jersey on right now, so I would be remiss not to mention Trevor Hoffman.
When did he retire, though? So
Hoffman retired I would have been in 8th grade when we retired his number.
Okay, that does not count. Sorry. Who came of our life fine. I know what you're trying to do.
I was like, how is that not my lifetime?
I guess who played their entire career in our lifetime.
Do you want me to say Clayton Kershaw? Is that where this is headed?
Yes, I want you to say Clayton Kershaw.
Okay, I'll give you Clayton Kershaw for this argument.
I want you to say Clayton Kershaw. And the reason I want you to say Clayton Kershaw is because I never remember him throwing over 95.
Yeah, but the number of pitching duels I'm sure you watched Clayton Kershaw get into growing up. What was it when it was supposed to be Randy Johnson, but it was actually Kershaw?
It was supposed to be Randy Johnson versus Greg Maddux, and we ended up with Max Scherzer versus Clayton Kershaw. You got to see the clip of Vin Scully explaining that.
Supposedly, we were going to have 2 veterans, a 44-year-old Randy Johnson, he'll be 45 next week with all of his victories, 294. 42-year-old Greg Maddux with 354 victories. But under the headline and heading of the best laid plans of mice and men, we have a 24-year-old Scherzer with no wins and a 20-year-old Kershaw with 3. What a difference a day makes. Anyway, we were talking about heterochromia.
Vin Scully was just such a gift, man.
Oh, yeah.
Truly
Rip.
greatest announcer of all time.
Also, just such a good person. And I mean, I was fortunate enough to have met him a few times, and you would not know you were talking to one of the greatest to ever do it.
Anytime a Vin Scully call comes up, I'm like, yeah. I'm sitting here for this. No questions
Also,
asked.
something that we've lost, and part of this is lost art of Vin Scully. Part of this, too, is what gambling has done to our announcing. I don't know if you caught at the very end there, he started going back into something he was talking about, heterochromia, which is the
Different colored eyes.
Yeah, that Max Scherzer has. And back before there were AI-powered sponsored gambling ads coming up for announcers to read between each at bat, announcers had to actually find things that were interesting to talk about and tell stories. And I don't know if you know, Vin Scully used to his game day preparation, because he lived about an hour and a half away from the stadium. As he was driven to the stadium, he had a driver drive him so that he could work on preparing his notes in the car. He would call up hometown coaches, friends, family of the visiting players, so he would have real heartwarming stories to tell about them when they were at bat. Like, if it was the guy's first game, someone's debut, which, did we see that Cardinals debut?
I wasn't watching it, but it was insane to get the readout from it. Every time he had another home run, a new MLB alert was popping up. It was like, first career hit in the big leagues as a home run, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. What an insane way to go about it. And I'm sure on the Cardinals broadcast that's great, but to your point, you don't often get good stories about opposing players.
God, and
for as much as I love my booth, Dawn and Mud, so good, I think that is missing. It helps humanize the sport, and I think maybe in pursuit of making baseball a faster game, we're losing that too. It's a lot of pitch call, okay, now we're moving on to the next, we have a sponsor ad read, here's one little story, innings over. You know what I mean? We're not getting American
Dodger
pastime.
games on KTLA back when we were on local TV before Spectrum took over. In the 5th inning, they would take away a commercial break. They would have Vin Scully literally turn around in his chair, point the camera at him, and he would do On This Day in Dodger Baseball. And he would find something from whatever year it was. And I mean, the Dodgers have been around since late 1800s, so you've got a lot to work from. And I mean, Jackie Robinson Day was always great because he went ice skating with Jackie Robinson at one point.
That's insane. That's so cool. Like I said, I love Dawn and Mud. I wouldn't change my booth for the world, but I do think we are losing baseball announcing as an art also. So much has changed in the game in recent years, but I miss that. You would never hear guys talking about an opposing pitcher who has heterochromia for 5 minutes.
No, now you just hear the odds that the next pitch is going to be a ball or a strike.
Yeah, and then you get the overlays of all the pitches that have been thrown. As much as I love stats, and it's so interesting and it helps contextualize things, it's so stat heavy in the broadcast now. It really started when they put that damn box up so you could see if it was a ball or a strike on the broadcast.
That didn't change how announcers talk.
No, but it changed how people engaged with the game.
I think there's a difference between what the announcers are saying and what the people are seeing on screen. Some of it overlaps, obviously, but at some point football didn't have the first down marker, and like that is undoubtedly one of the best inventions of sports broadcasting. Some of it's good, not all of it's bad. And I actually, I don't know,
I'm
I
not
kind of like
anti-change.
I like ABS, not gonna lie.
I do like ABS. For as much as I think it is born out of, or maybe does in part contribute to some issues I have with the game at large, it's so electric in the stadium when there's a challenge and the team you're watching gets their challenge right or the opposing team gets it wrong. And
they did the system well too, because what's even funnier too is when there's an obvious botch, but somebody blew the challenges.
Scorecard used to be very contentious. I think the umps are doing a better job than I would do when you talk about things being too close to call. If it's a ball instead of a strike by 1/10 of an inch, that just as easily could have gone the other way, and I don't think that's a knock on the ump if they get that wrong. Sometimes it's 4 inches, and you're like, okay, well, this is what the system is for, but...
Yeah, some of it's pretty egregious.
Totally.
But it's also, I mean, the pitch framing, too, you lose that element of it.
Well, but now you're doing the inverse, where you're trying to frame it so that it gets called way off. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
so somebody challenges and loses their challenge.
So you're like, oh, that was
It's
definitely
just
a ball. And
it's
it was a
another
strike.
element. It's another element of strategy, and I think they've actually, honestly, to their credit, they've done a good job integrating it into the game in a way that adds an element without taking something away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll call that for the day. I think baseball's heating up. The Dodgers were on a little bit of a slide. Padres are back in wild card position.
It has been
so
way too long since the Dodgers and the Padres played.
We don't play anymore. In the last 3 years, there's just been such a sharp decline in when we play. And then also, I feel like all of our series group. Like we play.
It's not a
home and
decline, it's
away.
a grouping. It's that
It's
they
so
do the
frustrating.
Because I don't know the exact numbers. I know there is a defined number of times you play each division rival and a defined number of times you play each other team. And
I think we
it's
play
just
each other 4 times throughout the year, but it used to be every 2 months. And now
Yeah,
it's like
I think
we're
we just
playing
had
two
two-
games in April and 2 games in September.
Yeah, we had like 3 series grouped in the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, I just feel like all of our series recently have been, you guys come to us, day off, we go to you, 6 months, do it again.
We'll see what happens, though. Hopefully we've worked out our kinks by then.
Okay, well, thank you for talking with me, Jordan. Thank you for speaking candidly about your ownership situation. Can't wait to see how that continues
I
to
was gonna
unfold.
say, let's let the dust settle before we draw any conclusions, but we'll see what
You
happens.
know what?
there.
The Padres have their ownership approved, so we'll call that the end of the ownership discussion for now, and we'll keep an eye on it.
Sounds good.